tick, tock, tick, tock. Let me know if you can hear me. Here's 5 rules for doing YouTube Lives. Number 1, before you start going off on some long rant about whatever it is you're talking about, find out if the audience can hear you, because it can always. So if you could let me know if you could hear me in the comments. I hope I remember to edit this out afterwards. It's going to be a shitty start to a video. So sing you a song. Can you let me know in the comments if you can hear me with a yes, we can hear you. Hear you, bud. Loud and clear. I hear you. Okay, so this is from where I'm going to edit it from. So I do something silly. I'm going to edit this. I remember to. Sensible, motivational face. This is genuinely how I start videos. I'm like that. Oh, okay. Get into the character. Because your state transmits, right? You've got to, like, you can't be like, hey, we're going to do motivation, because that's not fucking motivating. Here we go. Ich, me, san, chi, ajime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. We're going to be looking at 5 rules for being more mentally positive. Not just more mental, but more mentally positive. Rule number 1, and I think it's easy to get knocked out of this, is that it should be you focused. So the locus of control should be internal rather than external. So if you want to be very, very motivated, more structured, you want to have more positivity, generally speaking, you have to be coming from an internal locus of control. That means that what happens in your life, the way you process the events in your life, it's not an external locus of control. Would be everything that happens in my life is like happening to me. The internal locus of control is a much tougher philosophy, because you're like, well, if this is happening, I must be at least partly to blame, because if you're partly to blame, you're responsible. You want to be in a position of responsibility, because that's just a more powerful place to be. You also want to be focused on, oh no, you can't say that. That's narcissistic, because now I'm saying you have to be focused on what you want. The simple fact is that human beings are goal orientated. We focus on the things we want and then we move towards them. You can't move to think, you can't be motivated and moving towards things if you haven't got a sense of what it is that you want. Now, what you want may be very Christian, it may be very Buddhist, it may be very Muslim, it might be like, I want what is best for all of us in the community and for the good of humanity. That's fine, but it must be that which you authentically want, not which has been given to you to want. When you're looking at that, another thing is that you must be focusing not just on what you want, but upon what. Sprechen Sie Englisch? I do. On what you do want. So normally, our daily bread, our daily consumption of social media, reality TV, conversations with friends and all the rest of it, it's very much focused on what we don't want. It's very much focused on envy, status anxiety, competition, trying to one-up each other, terrible things that have happened to us in the past, terrible things that have happened to our community or our nation or our ethnicity in the past. It's past focused, and it's what we don't want. It's natural. It's perfectly natural. That's what the human brain does. It maps for danger. Pain is a bigger motivator than pleasure because of survival, because pleasure is, I don't know, let's say at the most primal levels of the evolution of man, let's say it's sexual opportunity, it's community, it's love, it's being able to find food, being able to find shelter and warmth. And that's great, but you get to do that over and over and over again until the day you die. If you fail to recognize that that snake is poisonous and get out the effing way, you get to make that mistake once. If you fail to obey the law, do not go in that cave because there's massive cat creatures with huge fangs in there, and you get that wrong once, then that's it, it's over. So we're highly motivated by pain. And one of the things that has is it has an echoing effect where we're constantly thinking about pain. We're constantly thinking about what we don't want. So if you want to be motivated, you have to retrain your brain. It won't go there naturally. It won't go there naturally. You have to condition it to focus on what you do want. Number 3, I've cheated and I've put 2 things in one because it's my video and I can. Clarity and repetition. So you want to have a very, very clear image of what it is that you are moving towards. You want to be focused on that repeatedly. You want to be focused on that a lot. That clarity of vision is the thing that will pull you forwards. If you notice, when you feel demotivated or you feel lazy or you don't feel like doing something, feel. So feel is either emotion or it's in the soma, it's in the body. It's either a body experience of, I don't want to, and or it's an emotional experience of, I don't want to do that. So when we have clarity of what we're moving towards, we're pushing through those feelings. The repetition element is important because it's a skill, it's a strength, it must develop over time. If you want to stay motivated, this one is extremely important. The more self-sufficient and self-disciplined you become, the more motivated you will feel. Motivation is kind of like mental positivity, and being forward focused and focused on the future is a muscle. It must be worked, and it must be worked in resistance. You know, when you lift a weight, you're resisting gravity or you're resisting the weight itself. And it kind of sucks. You have to push against it to develop that muscle. The self-sufficiency is not in getting others to do things for you, but it's in training yourself to go, no, if this is happening and I don't like it and I don't want this to happen anymore, where do the changes need to come? Oh, the government should fix this. I'll create a social activism group and they'll fix it. Or somebody somewhere out there in the external locus of control will do this for me. No. If it's happening to me and I don't like it, it's my responsibility. Oh, I blame her, I blame him, this, but for what? What's that going to do? No, it has to be down to me. It has to be down to me. The 5th thing is community. Community. Be aware. This includes anyone or anything or any content that gets access to your brain, because the modern day version of community includes social media posts and books and podcasts and all the rest of it, because these people become at the less evolved levels of our brains. We think that is our community. If you're always listening to a certain podcast, or always listening to a certain person, or you're often listening to me, I kind of become part of your internalized community. If you want positivity, you have to have a positive, success-focused, self-sufficient, focused on what you do want, with a lot of clarity and a lot of repetition, content, ambience, people like that. You want people like that around you if you want to become more mentally positive. Okay, this is to let you know we have a new 30-day challenge. It is not like the other 30-day challenges. This 30-day challenge is the forward-focused 30-day challenge. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to teach you how to implement all of these things in your life. Just let me talk to you about this very, very briefly, and then I will take some questions. Well, that's a shitty array. Oh, swearing. Can I edit that? Yes, I can. Okay. If I don't edit this, just put it in the comments. Like, you've got to edit. What's the timestamp on that swearing? YouTube can throttle you down if you swear, you see. I like swearing, but YouTube doesn't enjoy it. So with the 30-day challenges in the past, what we've done is I've tried to take you through a way of overcoming CPTSD or narcissistic abuse. This 30-day challenge isn't going to be doing that at all. The 30-day challenge that we've got set up is totally forward focused. So what you are doing with it, it's going to be less triggering. It's going to be less pushing you towards therapeutic breakthrough and insight, and way, way more about developing the skill and the strength and conditioning you to look forward into the future so that you're naturally and spontaneously focusing on what you do want, which, as it turns out, happens to be a really good way of developing boundaries. I didn't know this. I started doing this a few months ago, and there is no way on this earth that I could be called a codependent at this point. Now, you may remember at the beginning of this year, and even last year in 2022, I was doing videos and I was like, I know how to help you overcome CPTSD, codependency. I don't know what to do. It turns out that like this really pretty plain, it's not fancy. It's not like a special psychological technique, or I wouldn't consider it to be a complicated psychological technique. It turns out that simply becoming focused on what you do want and then just moving towards it, in my case at least, was the piece of the puzzle that helped me to overcome codependency. Nobody could call me a codependent at this point in my life. And I wasn't thinking boundaries. I wasn't thinking childhood trauma. I wasn't thinking attachment styles or even particularly emotional literacy. I was just like, I want what I want, in a righteous way, in a good way. Like, I know it's good for me. I know it's good for my family. I know it's in alignment with my values. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not doing any damage in the world. But this massively improved my boundaries in 2023 and massively helped me to overcome the sort of addictive, weird tendency to fawn, to seek to please other people, to just say yes when I should have said no. I just spontaneously found myself either saying no or maybe even more powerfully, I'm not sure because I haven't figured it out yet, it's just saying nothing. So I would get these covert requests from people like, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me, or make me okay, or support me, or comfort me. And because I was focused on what I wanted, I'd just be like that. Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm doing that weird stuff. And it really registered to me as weird. I was like, I'm not asking you for that. Like, you're an adult, same as me. Like, I'm not asking you, I'm not your mummy. I'm not asking you to be my mummy. Like, what are we doing here? So being forward focused, being focused on what you actually do want, I'm not claiming is going to help people overcome codependency. Could have been a fluke. Correlation is not causation. In my subjective experience, all I'm doing is reflecting back to you. In my subjective experience, this made a huge difference, massive difference. I was just like, you're not in alignment with my values, you're not in alignment with what I want, and that's it. So what we're going to be doing for this is that it's not a ton of heavy, like, you don't have to watch 25-minute long videos and then commit to a 40-minute exercise and, I don't know, get into an emotional state over something that happened with your mum 20 years ago. We're not doing that. On the Forward Focus course, you're going to be asked to do 5 things every day, 5 times a day. And to do those 5 things will take you 45 seconds. So it's a 5 times 5, as I've used before. Every time you do this will take you 45 seconds. There will be brief exercises that, well, there will be. There's actually the manual for the course is already done. So this time, it's not just me working on the course, it's me and 3 other people. We created a manual so we know exactly what we're going to do at different points in the course. This is the main thing you're focused on every day. There are audio hypnoses to listen to. There are a couple of meditations to do if you want to do them. And then the rest is brief written exercises that you share in the community. We're still doing the community. Because it's critical. Now, these things will not hurt you. It's not painful. There's no therapeutic intervention. But the consistency will be tough because life just gets in the way. So we're sharing in a community. That means every day, even if it's the last thing at night and you're in bed and you're just like, oh no, I have to log in. You just pull your phone out, click with your little digit. Yeah, okay. Oh, there's a written exercise to do. Read it. Okay, just type it out and do it. You don't have to take pictures of it. You don't have to do any of that on this course. So the emphasis is more on a little bit of work done every day to keep you focused on the future, to keep you focused for 30 days in the morning, in the evening, and then at regular points throughout the day on what you do want for 30 days. That's it. It's not it. Of course, there's little bits and pieces that I've snuck in there. That, you know, some of the videos are a little bit longer, some of the concepts are a little bit more complicated, but I can guarantee with this course, nobody's going to get upset by it. Nobody's going to be, you know, triggered by it, because it is very, very straightforward. That's available to get now. We're going to start onboarding on December the 29th, and then we actually do day one of the course is January the 2nd. If you want to do it, it's the same price as it always is. We're doing it for $50. There is one more thing. This is only for people who feel pretty robust and feel pretty strong. There is another option as well. If you've looked at the Unplug from the Matrix of Narcissistic Abuse course, and you've thought, I want to do that, but it does sound a bit heavy, which it is, I'm not going to lie, I spent 14 months on it. It's dense. It's a very, very dense course. If you feel okay, and my idea with this is, after 30 days of this, everybody's going to be feeling pretty positive, pretty upbeat. We do have an option where you can do another 30 days. So that will be throughout February. That will be with me on there, guiding you through it in the community. We have moderators, we have coaches. So we'll do 30 days in January. Super positive, super upbeat, super forward focused. For the people who feel like they're ready to do it, you can do a version of the course that is done inside of 30 days. You then, both of these courses you keep all of the material. In the Unplugged from the Matrix course, you keep that material, and you go through it really, really quick in a sort of a positive, upbeat way, and you skim the stuff because some of that work in there is heavy. And then if you want to, you can come back and work through it with a therapist afterwards, should you so choose. We got through it. I swore at minute 9, and I have to edit the beginning where I was dancing like a buffoon. Good. Now let's do questions. Try and make your questions one sentence long and have them end in a question mark, because I am that sort of a traditionalist. And let's have a little look. If you've got any questions about this or any questions about anything at all, feel free to ask. Okay. Susan says, I need this. That's right where I am, trying to figure out what I want, hoping it befits the all. Can't seem to find the clarity between the choices. I think I'm dealing with deep codependency. It's difficult for people who are codependent, who are truly codependent, because we end up with a very externalized locus of control, where we don't even have the permission to want. So where this did help me overcome codependency, it might have gone, maybe theorizing, it might have gone upriver of the problem, upstream of the problem, and dealt with that problem. And then downstream of that, I was like, oh, I know what I want, and I don't want to do weird stuff with you. Where, when, etc. Just joined. How did you do that? I didn't put the link. Oh, well, you can, yeah, if you go to richardgrannon.com, you can go. So as soon as you join, you'll get access to the introduction video. We're going to get everybody on board for like 2 or 3 days before. There's a few bits and pieces I need you to do to prep you. That'll be on the 28th and 29th of December. But day 1 of the course of the 30-day challenge, the forward focus one, will be January the 2nd. And then I think because of the calendar, I'm pretty sure we can start the second 30-day challenge on February the 2nd as well. Is this the first time you felt free from codependency? It's not. That's an interesting linguistic structure. I wouldn't even say that, like, so for me, subjectively, I'm not walking around going, oh, I feel free from codependency. I'm free from a burden of something. My subjective experience is more like the stuff that I'm not doing that I otherwise would have done for other people to make everything okay, to be a peacekeeper, to be a fawn responder, to be that, peacemaker. And now I'm just like, well, did you just make a terrible mess? Mm-hmm. Are you a grown adult? Mm-hmm. You can clean that. You can clean that. And they're These are people who've done this with me before. They're looking at me to make it better, and I've just gone, no, I'm not doing that. So I don't feel, I suppose I do feel a little bit unburdened. It's more that like a situation happens and then I look backwards and I go, ooh, I prefer the way I responded to that than the way I used to. Which is that it's not even that I'm doing anything. It's just I'm not. Like if you drop a glass, imagine we're in a room right now and you drop a glass, I would be the first person to rush over and pick it up. And now I'm just looking at it going, well, you've got two hands, you know, I'm only going to do what you can do. And it's probably better if you do it. Do you know what I mean? So that's around the house's way of saying yes, but I wouldn't quite structure it like that. Luke says, I say things hurtful to others before they hurt me or if they get too close. How do I get over this? I do not know, my friend. Terribly sorry. It might be worth speaking to a mental health professional and really giving them all the context and the background. I would need to know an awful lot more than that. Joanne Flannery says, I think the 30-day challenge really moved me forward into self-authorship. Yes, you probably would have done one of the CPTSD 30-day challenges. I have more money, a new job, and creative projects too. Well, that's fantastic. It's good. It's always nice to hear success stories. 30-day challenge isn't, it's not long. You think 30 days, what's that going to change? But it's long enough. And if it's hard, you're like, well, I've only got 15 days to go. Come on, let's keep going. But you can actually get quite a bit done in 30 days. How do you address the need to confront someone who is intentionally is adversarial or is paid to create problems with others? I wouldn't be able to answer that without more context. Again, I'm so sorry. Because if I put on my guru hat and I'm like, yes, I know exactly what you mean, and I don't have the data, I could end up talking past you. So here, I need to know what the power dynamic was, because there clearly is one, and I don't know what it is. Scarlett says, the first 30-day challenge was great and helped me a lot. That's fantastic. Are there any videos on recovery from childhood trauma? You can actually search within YouTube, within a channel, on the videos in the top right bar, there's a little magnifying glass, and you can look childhood trauma. I'm pretty sure I've done videos on childhood trauma, yeah. The beef. How do I leave an abusive relationship without giving abandonment anxiety to the family I'm leaving? You don't. You don't get to determine the emotional state of the people around you in relation to the things that you do. And I know that sounds, if you're very codependent, it sounds very brutal, and almost in your mind you're like, that's a bit abusive, but you have to, so this is, ta-da, forward focused, non-codependent thinking. You are obliged to live your life responsibly in accordance with your values. This is not a philosophy that says, oh, my value is freedom, so screw everybody no matter what. No, you should seek to diminish harm. But the simple fact is that sometimes when you make a decision that's necessary for you to live your life responsibly, he said again, responsibly, without deliberately hurting people, that you will do things that do hurt people. None of us can live a life that never hurts anybody. Because imagine you're living your life, which is a codependent tries to do, never hurting anyone. Well, then you'd never leave an abusive relationship because it would hurt them. You'd end up, in romantic context, you'd end up sleeping with people you weren't sexually attracted to try not to hurt their feelings. Do you want to live like that? That's a slave's life. So unfortunately, they're just going to have to deal with the way that they feel about it. The relationship was abusive. You didn't make it abusive. You must leave. They will experience some feelings. I don't know exactly what those feelings are, nor do you. And that's for them to deal with as human beings. Bobo says, how easy is it for a pleb like me to do what you're doing? This challenge, easy. To chat on YouTube and to sort of build something around it. I've tried training people to do it, and it's actually really pretty tough, apparently. For me, it wasn't hard, but I had different experiences coincidentally that led me to a point that when I joined YouTube, because I got onto YouTube, I think 5 or 6 months after it was established, and yeah, but yeah, no, I won't lie to you, it's not so easy. Kat says, how to get rid of excess guilt as a codependent. You really should pay a mental health professional and do 3 or 4 sessions with them, specifically around these feelings of guilt. You know, you're thinking like, how do I get rid of the uncomfortable emotion? But there needs to be a conversation there that is will end up becoming quite Socratic in the best sense, and philosophical, which is, you know, a decent enough counselor is going to say to you, okay, so why do you feel these feelings of guilt? Should you feel these feelings of guilt? What does it mean when we feel feelings of guilt? When is it appropriate to feel feelings of guilt? And then these are boundary building questions, by the way. We think of boundaries as like me saying, I'm boundaried, I say no to you. Sometimes it's that. Well, the most important boundaries are internal and they're philosophical, and they're usually moral. So this is a moral question. Should I never feel guilt? No, you should sometimes feel guilt. If you do something bad, you should feel guilty. Should I feel guilt for stuff I haven't done? Is there ever a context of these that in answering that there isn't, forget, the importance is not the answers to those questions. It's in the attempt to answer those questions. We wrestle. So when you wrestle with the question and you engage in good philosophy, these muscles develop and they create boundaries. So over time, you know, you're like, oh my God, I'm feeling guilty about that. And then that part of you that has been wrestling for, let's say, a year, 2 years, goes, why? Well, because, no. Is that a rule that applies to you? Or does it apply to everybody? Because if you're living by a rule, like if you're saying only you, cot, should feel guilt, why? Are you special? What is that? Some sort of weird narcissism, the narcissism of a martyr? Like only you should feel guilt. Would you expect your daughter to feel guilt for that? No. Why not? Like, why should you? But she shouldn't. This is philosophy, and it will save your ass. So that's fine. Okay. Chrissy Lee asks, will us codependents ever stop being attracted to narcissists? I was hoping to finish the video soon. That sounds like the beginning of an hour-long lecture. Well, so they can't both have died. Oh, I'm using this shit one. Do you know how much I love whiteboards? I am a big fan of note-taking and whiteboard usage. Oh, I'm a big fan. I am going to answer your question. I'm just playing for time because I'm thinking, how can I say this in a way that is actually good? Right. So there isn't a clinical sort of entity called a codependent, but something like that seems to be happening. The closest thing that exists clinically is called dependent personality disorder. Let us return to myth and Ovid. There was Narcissus, the beautiful young man. This is significant that he was male, so he was yang. He was a young Greek hunter and he was beautiful, and people approached him because they wanted him and they wanted to marry him, they wanted to be with him, and he was aloof and indifferent, and he sent them all away. Nobody was good enough for him. And then one day he sees his own reflection and he falls in love with it, and depending on the variations of the myth, within this myth is this Greek philosophical wisdom, he locks into a loving sort of gaze with his own reflection, and he cannot tear his face away. He's like, oh, that's so beautiful, and he dies there. And then in the different variations of the story, he dies and becomes the Narcissus flower. So So you've got narcissism, which is yang, and then you've got echoism, which is yin. So Echo is a female. She's a nymph. We never really hear about her. We talk a lot about the guy, Narcissus. We don't hear an awful lot about Echo, the nymph. So Echo's a chatty wood nymph, and the king of all the gods, which I think is Zeus, likes to go to the woods, and he frolics with the wood nymphs. His wife, the queen of the goddesses, what's her name? Hera, I think, comes to the woods and says, "Where's my fella? I know he's here. Get him out here now," because she's a Scouser in that story and nobody knows. "Where's my fella? Get him out here now." And so the nymphs are in a bit of a panic and they send Echo. She's charming. She has a beautiful voice. She can sing. She tells jokes and she can talk fast. And she convinces Hera, the queen of the goddesses, he's not here. He was never here. We didn't see him today. And she's chatting, filling Hera's head with gas. And Zeus is like, "Thanks for that, babe," and then jumps out the back door of the forest and gets away. The queen of the goddesses figures this out and she's furious. Echo has deceived her. So she gets up now. Echo is a nymph. She has a beautiful voice and she is a woman. Narcissus is a man. Echo is feminine. Narcissus is masculine. So to keep it like apolitical, we can talk in the Taoist terms, the yin yang. So we say yang and yin. Yang transmits, yin receives. Yin receives. Now, you asked, can codependents ever stop being attracted to narcissists? So he's going to go for it. So it's got to be, that wasn't too bad actually. So if that's the white side, then don't make me colour it. Just imagine that's all black. Well, it's not black actually, it's an absence of light. It's an absence of light. So in the yin is security, nurturing, sleep, the cave, darkness. It's a vessel. You go inside, and when you go inside something, there's no light. Yang is light and bright, and it's outward moving. It's thrusting forward. So when we do combat Tai Chi, if I move into you, I'm giving you yang energy, and you could meet that yang energy with yang. But if you're smart, you'll meet it with yin, and you'll move me into the space, into the void that you've created. So everything, this is dynamic. This isn't still. This is important. I'm setting up the answer to your question. This is very important. Everything in life strives to find balance. It's alive. It moves. When it stops, back to the Greek myth, when it stops, it's dead. They're dead. They're stopped. What are they doing? Their own face, their own reflection. They can't move. Now, Echo had a voice. She had a voice, and she misused her voice, and she tricked a goddess. And that voice was taken away from her. Echo's punishment, I'm pretty sure it was Hera. She said, "Right, smart ass, you'll never have a voice again. You'll never speak again, except the last few words that somebody else says. You can only echo what other people say." That is codependency. It's. I don't want to say like politically upsetting things that get people into their fucking. I'm swearing again, bastard. They get them into their combat mode, and then their ears close down. They're like, toxic masculinity. That's feminine. So I'm codependent. So I'm manifesting a toxic femininity, a toxic passivity with no voice. My voice was taken away. I can only do what? Echo. Is that an action? No. That is a reaction. That's a reaction. I'm an empty vessel. You speak, or not you, someone narcissistic speaks, and I echo back what they say. So I don't have yang and yin centered. I'm not balanced. I'm not flowing. I'm not moving. I'm locked and I'm dead. There's a cave. A cave is dead. A cop is dead. A narcissist gazing at their own reflection is dead. That's not alive. I can't be spontaneous. So I can't, like this course where we're saying, okay, we're going to be focused on the future. I want this for me. What? I've got no voice. So if I don't have a voice, I don't have a will. So how can I want? So to me, that's the essence of codependency. Echo meets Narcissus in Ovid's. There's different. There's not just one myth of Narcissus that we get narcissism from. She meets him in the woods and she sees him and she falls in love with him. And he says he's not fallen in love with his own reflection yet. He's just walking around in the woods, being beautiful and Greek. And he hears someone, and he says to her something like, "Who goes there? Show yourself." And Shio can only echo back, "There, show yourself." So he then starts talking to her, but he's such a self-obsessed effing dope. He doesn't realize that she's not talking to him. She's just echoing back the last few things he said. But he's such a narcissist, because he's Narcissus. Whenever someone echoes back what he says and confirms his reality, that feeds him. And he goes, this must be a truly intelligent person I'm engaged with. So these two engage in a fake communication. And these two poor, broken nincompoops, of which I'm one, I'm on the spectrum for all these things, believe that they love each other. We love each other. We really understand each other. No, because you're both dead. You're dead. You're not in flow. You know, if you're stuck all the way in yin, even as a man, like I'm saying, as a man, I lived like this for years, totally yin, whatever others said. And I had to have some kind of, we say narcissist, but like some kind of tyrannical dope, an overconfident dope, which is another way of saying a narcissist, who really believes in their own bullshit. In my life, for me to see, I'm even killing the battery here. I'm going on that long. In order for me to feel alive, you asked me many years ago, can a codependent ever stop being attracted to the narcissist? Based on this, Tovarish, Chris Lee, what do you think? What are you think? You're only attracted because you're toxically yin. You're only attracted to toxic yang because you're toxically yin. You're dead. You're trying to come alive. I don't know how to say this without it sounding very Freudian. You shove them in you. I've done that. You shove all of them in you and you go, oh, I suppose this is what it feels like to be alive. It's not. You're a puppet. You're a sock puppet. You're a sock puppet now. What's your will? Their will. What's your word? Your voice? Their voice. So when you look at the world today and you see people infected with memes and weird ideologies that are beyond reason, most people, the overwhelming majority, are stuck in toxic yin. We're like, oh my God, the overwhelming amount of narcissism. What a pandemic narcissism is. But that wouldn't propagate. That wouldn't propagate. Sorry. Without most people stuck in toxic yin. Why? Because it's not that difficult to deal with people who are highly narcissistic. You just stop giving them attention. You just go, oh, you're a clown who's in love with yourself, who can't even talk to other people because you're just talking to yourself all the time. Try to think in terms of balance and energy. What do you need to be alive? Well, maybe you need a bit of this. Maybe these are polarities, right? So, okay, you're aware of Chinese medicine. If a part of my body is all the way, see, in modern Western discourse, we think of this as a moral thing. We go, well, yin, that which is feminine, is highly moral. That which is masculine is highly immoral. This is total insanity. It's totally insane. If I go all the way yin, is one of these better than the other in the Chinese model? No. Too much of either of these will kill you. You're dead. You die in Chinese medicine. Too much yin, you're dead. Too much yang, you're dead. Too little yin, dead. Too little yang, dead, diddly ed, unalived, you're dead. Any organ, in Chinese medicine, it's food is yin and yang. Drinks have yin and yang. Like if you've been around Chinese people who are into this and you have a certain condition, they'll be like, you need this because the condition you're in is your lungs have gone into yin, and you have to. It doesn't matter whether it's real or not. It's a fascinating model to apply to the narcissism codependent dynamic. You must be here. Life is here. This is not still. I met a doctor of Chinese medicine a couple of years ago, and he taught me this. It's actually really good. That's a GIF. That's a GIF. When you think of a yin yang, it rolls, it rolls, it rolls. You need to be here. So, if you had some of this, if you're in the far pole of yang, you're a narcissistic idiot. If you're in the far pole of yin, you're a pushover. You're just a dishcloth. Which one's more moral? Kind of a question is that. Is that really where we want to go with this issue? Who's the more moral one? Who's more alive? Neither. They're both dead. How do we come back to life? Well, maybe there's somewhere along the spectrum where in different contexts I should be moving into yang and saying, no, it's not what you want now, because you don't know what the situation needs. I do. It's about what I want. And then in another scenario, I go, you remember the yin yang combat tai chi? We're in a scenario where I look at you and you go, oh, are you going to take over now? And I'll go, no, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to give space to you or somebody else because you know what you're doing and the outcome's going to be better. That's called being alive and open. It can't always be my turn to talk. It can't always be my turn to listen. There has to be balance. So why did I give you this 20-minute long lecture with Greek philosophy and Chinese philosophy? Because you framed the question from, in my opinion, our modern psychology it isn't crappy, but it can very easily create crappy models and crappy thinking. And this is, everybody talks like this on YouTube. You're not wrong to talk, everybody talks like this, but it's crappy. As will I, as a codependent, ever stop being attracted to a narcissist? How do I, as somebody trapped in toxic yin, rebalance my yang? How do I get more yang? Because your attraction to this is an effort to balance. And their attraction the other way, by the way, is an effort towards balance. We're dead, we're trying to become alive. We're locked, we're trying to get free. We're trying to move again. That's all you're doing. You have way more power in this situation than you realize. It's only a case of coming back to embracing what it is that you do want. I'll say one more question. I fucking won't take one more question. It's going to lead to another half an hour lecture. Look at this. Everybody's falling asleep. Bored, boring, bored. Bye. No, everybody's been very nice, I think. Chrissy's here. Thanks so much for the uplifting answer. You answered my real question, and I can fix that then. Thank you again. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So the main focus, if it's about overcoming codependency, which is not what the course is designed to do, I'm just reflecting back to you guys that in my experience, that's what happened. And it's probably largely about a rebalancing, where this was a way, you know, this is how I learned to survive in childhood. This was what was necessary in childhood. I also was not allowed a voice. I also was punished for having a voice by people who were over here in the toxic yang spectrum. And in order to survive, instead of copying them and becoming toxically yang, which I think would have killed me, I think they would have killed me if I'd done that, I became toxically yin. And you want to go, Oh, but that's superior. Really? Really? Read Nietzsche's concept of slave morality and get back to me and tell me that that's morally superior. I believed it for years. I was like, oh, this is the Buddhist way. It's egoless. This is Christian mysticism. I want what others want. I want to be sacrificial. Do you? Do you really? Or is that just a nice little story you're telling yourself? Isn't this highly manipulative? Isn't this, I mean, really, do you have the right? You've been given the gift of life to negate your own life and to live as a ghost at the behest of others. Not, and you live at the behest of other flipping idiots. Oh, I think I've got loads to say and I'm a very important person. Look at my pee-pee. It should be called silly pee-pee personality. Look at my grand papee. Listen to me now. Why? What are you saying? You know, look at you. Look at the state of yourself. Humans worshipping humans in one massive wanky cult. I'm not into it, man. You guys might be. I'm not a priest. I'm not here to teach you how to live. This is a dumb way to waste your time. Do it if you want. But I mean, show me the person that you follow. Who should you follow? Who should you listen to? What fucking pleb with toe jam and smelly socks is going to teach me about life? Life should be teaching me. I need to go beyond the human. You need to go beyond. You're looking at other humans. I did an interview recently and it was off the cuff. I'd had quite a lot of coffee that day and not much sleep. It was really good. I was like, we should stop looking at each other all the time. Because, and I said to the guy who was interviewing me, if you love me, what do you love? If you love me, but you don't love God, you don't love community, you don't love art, you don't love philosophy, you don't love literature, the only love in your life you have is me. You're loving down, aren't you? Ooh, big pee-pee. I'm glad I did this video, and I'm glad I said that several times, loud enough for the neighbours downstairs to hear. Big pee-pee. Don't listen to people like this. This is no way to live. It's no way to live. They don't really know anything. They're just blagging. Everybody's blagging. Oh, but my president's coming soon. Okay. So you can worship his big pee-pee then. Right, I'm not doing any more. We've got, what's it called? Thursday challenge. I'll post a link underneath this video. It's a forward-focused challenge that's there to get you into a more positive mindset moving into the future. It's not designed to overcome codependency. For me in my own life, when I started focusing more on what I wanted and made a committed effort towards that, all the codependent elements in me seemed to dry up. As I said, at the beginning of this year, I was like, I think I'm a codependent for life. At the end of this year, it would be laughable to suggest that I'm a codependent. Laughable. And the only thing I did was that. I just got into, what do I want? What am I focused on? How do I have a voice? How do I also say, I'd like this, please. I want to move in this direction, please. That's all I did. So yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Have a pleasant Christmas also.